Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, whatever the case might be. Today we're taking a look at the question, why are people so stupid? And why do people seem to be getting stupider? And is there a simple explanation that has been staring us in the face this entire time? In this short video, I hope to answer some of these questions. There's also going to be some supplementary material for you to investigate further if you're interested to do so. But let's try and get right to the chase right now. Let's cut right to the chase and get straight to the heart of the matter. Let's go and take a look at this video. Don't jump to any conclusions. It might seem like you can tell where I'm going with this, but just bear with me. This is a video of an ultrasound. It's only a 2-minute video. Let's take a look and I will pause when it is time to pause. The video is entitled Ultrasound, an Early View of Baby. And it starts off with these lovely images of mothers and their children, blurry footage, nice music. It's a wonderful time when people have children. The Motherhood Channel. Ultrasound, a first view of baby.
All right, Julia, we're going to take a look at your baby girl. So I may apply a little pressure, just let me know if it gets uncomfortable, okay?
Thank you.
So here with ultrasound, we're able to evaluate a lot of anatomic structures.
They're able to evaluate a lot of anatomic structures.
Especially looking at the head and the heart, and also measuring baby. But let's go and see
They
how
can even measure the baby.
she's laying today. So it looks like her head is right down, right above your bladder area, and her spine is over towards your left-hand side.
This is really important information, guys. Trust me, they need to know this.
And baby's bottom is right at the very top here.
And the technician speaks with a lovely, cute, calm voice. This is very reassuring for the mother. She gets to see the baby on the screen.
And here you can actually see baby's heart
They
beating.
can see his heart and they can even measure the heart rate to make sure it's normal.
Nice and strong, as you can see there on the screen. And also, what most parents love to see, and I know you would love to see, is also here we can see baby's beautiful profile.
Oh, you can see his profile. Very important to see the baby's profile.
And it looks like she has her hand right underneath her chin.
Oh, she has her hand
Nose
underneath her
and
chin.
also lips.
That's so cute.
We could also measure
Look at this device. It looks very sophisticated. High technology.
baby's heartbeat as well. And it looks like baby's heartbeat is about 149 beats per minute, which is a normal heartbeat.
That's a normal heartbeat. And don't you worry, if it was an abnormal heartbeat, there's something the doctors could do to fix it, of course. That's why this is happening. They have to do the ultrasound to make sure everything's okay.
And with ultrasound, we're also able to take a look at all these specific structures that are needed for a diagnostic interpretation as well. And
They can look at all the specific structures that are needed for a diagnostic interpretation. These are all fairly simple words when you break them down, but put them all together, it sounds like this technician is doing some kind of medical diagnostic, making sure the baby's okay, with the implication being that if something isn't okay, they can intervene to fix it. That's the implication.
also measure baby, make sure that baby's growing properly.
Make sure the baby's growing properly, because if it isn't, they will ask you to come back for more ultrasounds. But that's totally okay because ultrasounds are safe, aren't they?
Also the fluid surrounding the baby, making sure that baby is, it's a healthy pregnancy as well.
Making sure there's fluid around the baby, which it looks like there is, so everything's going well. And that's the Motherhood Channel. Okay, now let's watch this again without the narration from the technician, and let me walk you through some things. That device that she's using on the mother's belly there, it is called a transducer. It is called ultrasound for the regular people, but that's not producing sound. That is producing radiation. They call it non-ionizing radiation, which makes it sound safe, but I'm not so sure that it is safe, because I've taken the time to read the scientific studies about these things. Now, what you'll find is that the transducers that are used today are significantly more powerful than they were even 20 years ago. So if you're my age, 30, if you're in your 40s, you might have been ultrasounded, but not by devices as powerful as what is commonly used today. The radiation is being beamed right into that baby's home where it's growing up. And we assume that the radiation is safe. One, because it's called ultrasound, but two, as if they would beam dangerous radiation into the womb, as if they would let you do that. Here's the thing, if you look up the FDA's website, they state quite clearly you don't want to have too many of these things because they don't know the long-term effects. What they don't tell you is a study that I found from 1993, which did look at the long-term effects between two groups of babies. Babies who had one ultrasound and babies who had multiple ultrasounds. And they looked at what happened to the birth weight of these children. They looked at what happened to the mortality of these children. And then they followed it up 8 years later to see what had happened to those children. And believe it or not, they found that the children who had multiple ultrasounds turned out to be, on average, half a centimetre shorter than the babies who had only one ultrasound. You might think, oh well, that's because the babies who weren't growing properly were then given more ultrasounds, so it's kind of like not a representative sample or not a fair sample. Not the case. The study explains that this was a randomized trial. So in other words, it seems as though there's a correlation between multiple ultrasounds and the baby actually turning out smaller. In fact, they say that there's a 1.3 risk factor for mothers who smoke having underweight babies. Having multiple ultrasounds in this particular scientific study found a 1.8 risk factor. Now, if you're new to scientific studies or to statistics or anything like this, these words might sound like mumbo jumbo, but I've got good news for you, because I put together a presentation about 1 hour 10 minutes, available for free, link in the info box below, where I investigate this 1993 study. I look at what they say in the abstract, okay? I look at what they say in the method, in the discussion, in the conclusion. I go through their statistics, and what I found shook me to the depths of my miserable soul. You probably think ultrasound is safe. You probably think it's sound. Neither of those things are true. In fact, back in 1993, when these devices were nothing compared to what they are today, these ultrasounds were being shown, this radiation was being shown to have a long-term effect on the children. Now, the study tried to claim that it was not significant, but let me ask you this. If you found out that having multiple ultrasounds, even with weak ultrasounds, led to more underweight babies than smoking mothers, would you think that this is relevant, important information to have? I should think that you would. Now, what I've touched on in this video is only the tip of the iceberg. That 1 hour 10 minute presentation goes into much more detail, looks at this study in detail, looks at other studies as well, other information, other sources, and the conclusion, let me boil it down for you right now. The conclusion is this: when you take a look around and you see all these lemmings, dumb as shit, and you wonder, how come they believe in invisible body-possessing demons? How come they believe what the TV tells them? How come they don't seem to think about anything? Well, there's many potential explanations for it. But I'm putting to you that one of the most obvious explanations is that these babies are being retarded in the womb. That's right. Sounds crazy, I know. Go and take a listen to this presentation. 1 hour, 10 minutes. You can download it from my website. You can stream it from my website. You can download or stream from Podbean or from your Spotify app. So the options are all yours. It's all free. The information is provided in the info box below, in the show notes as well. So you can double check what I'm saying. And I challenge anybody to go and check these sources for themselves and come back to me and tell me that they believe that ultrasound is sound. It isn't, it's radiation. Or that they believe that this has no long-term effects on the baby, because it's been shown that they do. Or that they think that ultrasounds are getting safer over time. Actually, the opposite is true. They're getting far more powerful. And again, what I'm touching on right now in this video is only the tip of the iceberg. Let's go, and by the way, the rest is all in that presentation, okay? 1 hour, 10 minutes is the best presentation you're ever going to hear on ultrasounds. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish there were other people doing this work. But everybody else is talking about vaccines, which may or may not come, which may or may not be toxic. They're talking about chlorine, they're talking about dumbed down schools. These things may be problems. What no one seems to be talking about is the ultrasound. And you might be thinking, JLB, your study's from 1993. Why don't you get a more recent study? That's a very good question. Why don't they have lots more studies? How come the most recent I could find are from so long ago? It's almost as though these studies, which by the way, this study was meant to show that this stuff is safe. It's almost as, and if you read between the lines, you can see they found the opposite. It's almost as though when they realized that these studies were revealing too much, they just stopped doing the studies. They just stopped doing them. You won't find too many studies on ultrasound and long-term effects, but I found one, and I talk about it in this presentation, which I encourage you to go and check out. So let's go and take another look at this ultrasound one more time. Let's take a look at this cutesy wootsy ultrasound. You probably think, oh, they do this for diagnostic reasons in case there's something wrong with the baby. You probably believe that if there is something wrong with the baby, there's something they can do to fix it. I tried to find evidence that that's the case, and I couldn't find a single scientific study which showed that prenatal intervention, or when the baby's in the womb, intervening because of a problem, led to better long-term outcomes for the child. I couldn't find any. If you can find some, please send them to me. I don't think you'll find them. And so, in my mind now, what you're looking at here, let me be very clear about this, because I don't want you to go and listen to my presentation unless you're ready for it. What you're looking at here is not some kind of helpful technology, at least insofar as the outcomes for the baby are concerned, and the ideal life that we want this baby to lead. What you're actually looking at is a retardation device, and a perfect one, because they don't kill the baby. The study that I referred to before, 1993, published in The Lancet, it didn't find a high mortality for the children. So these ultrasounds are not killing the children. They might give you a false positive and tell you there's something wrong with the child, and then you go and kill it, which is obviously bad news for the baby. But these devices don't directly kill the baby, but they do seem to retard them. Don't take my word for it. Listen to the presentation and check out the studies that I cite. And bear in mind, of course, those studies are trying to say the ultrasounds are safe. But when you actually read the study, which is what I do for you in that presentation, you realize that their actual data says the opposite of what they're claiming in the abstract. Very peculiar. I'm putting to you, and this is a very controversial opinion, that this device that we see this lady with the white coat, the authoritative white coat, what we're actually watching, and by the way, she's not internet, she's just another useful idiot just like they all are. What we're actually seeing is a baby being retarded in real time, fried in the womb via the wonder of ultrasound, so-called ultrasound, radiation. We like radiation. Look at this device. This, my friends, this thing right here, this is a retardation device. Now, when I say retardation, what do I mean? I mean, quite literally, retardation. It retards the growth of the baby. Now think, and that's in their own study. Now think about it. What is your brain? It is physical matter. So if these things can be shown, have been shown, I will show you, have been demonstrated to reduce the growth of the baby in the womb, what do you think that does to the brain? Now think about this. The baby is in the womb, it can't get away from this thing. Okay? It's being pierced by radiation. Pierced by radiation. What do you think that does to the baby in its most important developmental time? These are the kinds of questions that we talk about in this presentation. I can't recommend this enough. Go and check it out. It's free. It's available right now. Download or stream. Link in the info box below. And before you post anything in my comment section that is angry at me or wants to accuse me of anything or anything negative, before you do that, please go and listen to this presentation. Okay? It's an hour and 10 minutes. Once you've listened, come back here, post whatever you want to post. But just go and check out the presentation. It is arguably the most important presentation I've ever released to the public via johnthebond.com. So I strongly recommend you go and check it out. Link in the info box below, but let me give you one warning. For a lot of people, there's going to be some black pills in this presentation, because what I've told you in this video is only a snippet of what you'll find in there. This is black pill stuff. Now, you've probably been involved in the so-called truth movement for what, a year, 5 years, 10 years, some of you 20 years. You should have swallowed enough black pills by now to be able to handle this. But if you're feeling in a down mood or not in a good state of mind, maybe skip this one for now. But for the rest of you, go and check it out. And if it is a little bit dark, a little bit chilling, don't get angry at me because I did give you a warning. One final time, links in the info box below. Don't leave any nasty comments or anything silly until you've listened. I recommend you go and do. John the Bond, April the 1st. Maybe this is all just a big joke. Oh, how I wish that was so.